You're listening to the Crystal Clarity Podcast. Well, hello and welcome to episode 10. So this is a really deep episode. We're going to talk about doing a full genetic reset. Some certain vibrational medicines out there can do a certain thing where they allow us to kind of get this giant perspective, kind of stand back and look at our lives and what's expressing from the point of view of our soul and say, oh, okay, interesting. This impact or this toxin or this pathogen may have set off a cascade of events that is not necessarily in full support of my highest expression or the highest actualization of my potential in this lifetime. And I want to be able to kind of almost go back to before the impact, or to go back to the unwounded self and just kind of look around from there and feel that space, because just feeling and becoming conscious of that space, that pre-disempowerment space, can absolutely shift your DNA and put you on a new track and can cascade a new timeline of events. So if you've had a kind of a toxic exposure, if you've had a trauma, if you've had something from the outside that you feel like just set you on a path where now you're getting more symptoms, or now you are, expressing things physically, spiritually that just don't feel like you, this whole episode is about a way to actually return to sovereignty with these stones. And I know sovereignty is a funny word coming out of it. We're talking about a genetic reset, but it's actually sovereignty that re-expresses and comes back, and we can feel it. We can get in the driver's seat of our own life again when we are able to stand back and kind of return to the pre-impact space, the unwounded child space, and feel this. It's like a ripple that comes from all time, spaces, and dimensions. It's actually just free of time. There's no past, there's no future. It's just this ripple that emerges from the field of the now. It is deep, but it's something that can be completely transformational and stop some physical and spiritual disease processes in their tracks and restore us to, the epigenetic timeline that we desire, that we intention, that we vision for ourselves. So I'll see you inside episode 10. Welcome to the Crystal Clarity Podcast. It's time to settle in once again with the stones. Together, we'll illuminate stones in healing and spiritual alchemy, and then go beyond, exploring land healing, earth grids, sacred sites, and all rocks in the wild. My name is Sarah Thomas. I'm a healer, educator, and an expert in the field of ancient stone medicine and future crystal technologies that heal and awaken. All right, let's relax into some crystal clarity. Well, hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Crystal Clarity Podcast. Yes, I am your host, Sarah, for this adventure, and I'm so glad that you're here. And before we dive into this deep content that we're looking at in today's episode, I want to remind you that you can source the stones that we talk about today completely dye-free, irradiation-free, free of all synthetic treatments at the Clarity Crystal Shop, which is the little stone shop in the mountains that I curate. I pick everything out from all over the world with my own hands and make sure they are all clean and clear and have maximum levels of chi and power. And I wanted to let you know that you can source those stones there safely if you are in need of a crystal shop that supplies really powerful stones for healers and for other people that just want to do more with them than put them on a shelf. You have a safe place for stones. And also, I'm going to mention stone elixirs today. And remember that you can always take a class with me or a more comprehensive training on any of these subjects, which may help you bring this skill more into your life, like make it more than just a podcast, but you really feel backed up with the skill and confidence to do that. And you can take any class that you want at upperclarity.com. And that is, when we get to the elixir part, just remember that you might want to take a training in doing that. Now, Today, we're going to talk about a full genetic reset, a full genetic cellular reset at the level of the DNA. And this is something that stones are born to do. Stones are the laboratory of all possibility. They're kind of the laboratory of the void. The void is a place of all possibility and all potential. So it's tons and tons and tons of limitless information in the void. And stones are nature's connection to that because they store so much information themselves. Inside, the crystalline structure of a stone, you have this incredible order and all of this incredible space and this periodicity that can store all of this information. And that's why we make computer chips out of it. And it's also why, computers and technology talks so much about coding and encoding and being coded to perform specific functions. And that's kind of just how our DNA works as well. Like we can be encoded to have certain expressions in our lives, like encoded by our parents or what runs in the family, or we can be encoded actually by the where the planets are when we were born. So there's these like all of these influences that encode us. But then when we express and come into this lifetime, we can switch those codes on and off. And we can, play in the realm of epigenetics where nurture, not just nature, but our environment and everything that we believe and affirm inside ourselves can turn certain encodements on. And we want to turn the encodements on that give us the greatest chance for success and happiness in this lifetime. You want that all turned on because success and happiness, if you have that foundation, is truly going to be the foundation for you to be able to help others. And it's going to be the foundation for you to be able to actualize your spiritual destiny as well. So we want to turn on the encodements that, bring us to our ability to realize our full potential when we're here. Because we come in with this plan kind of, there's no reason for us to come here unless there's a purpose. And we have this purpose, and often it's this extremely exquisite purpose that we don't really fully understand, until maybe later in hindsight or in the big moments of our lives, or sometimes even in the traumas of our lives, we see this purpose that we came with. It's honestly, it's exquisite when we see it. It's breathtaking. It's usually so much different than we know with our conscious mind. So we want to help our bodies express the genetics that will help us fulfill that exquisite purpose that we came here to actualize. And in our world now, there are many influences that can impact us at the level of the DNA and then kind of set off a cascade of effects that may pull chi away from us or pull our ability to regenerate or pull our ability to resource again or pull our ability to, see big picture and come back. May draw on our life force or, kind of like get us confused and set off into a cascade where we don't express the full potential of what we came here to do. So this is all about getting more clear and lucid about our purpose. And because we have so many things around us that can hit us at the level of the DNA and then set off those weird cascades, like the radiation coming from invisible wavelengths with all the technology and the Wi-Fi towers, that it's just a big old experiment. Like we don't really know how this is going to affect humanity. And then we've had, medical treatments coming out that have been big old experiments, and we don't really know how they're going to affect humanity, although some are now admitting or coming out and saying that those medical treatments were not exactly what we were hoping for when they were set out or what they were said to be. We also have, Roundup in the environment and toxic things and spraying toxic chemicals. There's a lot of things going on that if we, other kind of medical treatments I'm thinking of that are just experiments right now. And we don't know what it's going to be like in 20 years or 30 years, how people are going to feel from this. And there's a lot going on out there right now. So these things can impact us at the level of the DNA and kind of set us off into some cascades that are hard to fight back against. They're hard to really stay above sometimes. And, sometimes a being can be really healthy, and then one of these things happen, and it sets off a cascade of events that's just hard, and it's hard to keep getting back up. I mean, I've seen so many patients that have had some kind of toxin, get a hold of them at the level of DNA, and then hard cascades of symptoms and disease unfold from there. This is about getting us like back to the like pre-impact, the whole unwounded self pre-impact. And it's not linear, it's multidimensional. So it's not even really pre-post as in time, but it's almost like getting to a deeper place before the impact, a deeper place underneath the impact, and giving a chance to kind of be like, let's control alt delete, let's reset this whole thing and step back and be like, okay, is this really the cascade of events that we want to trigger? So a lot of times people would do a protocol like this if they got hit in a way that has set off some kind of like genetic or chronic degenerative diseases. One example of a recent story that would be so good with this exact work is a dog that got, well, it wasn't exactly Lyme disease, it was another tick-borne disease that went deep into them and was an intracellular bacteria. The bacteria was actually living inside the cells, and then kind of triggered off this cascade of symptoms and rare issues that like the vets had barely even ever heard of. Another example of this, besides, toxins that may set us off or exposures that may set us off, are traumas. Traumas go so deep into the body, they go into the DNA. Some of them go so deep that they encode us or imprint us at the level of the DNA. Sexual trauma is one that can set off a whole different kind of like cascade of events. And other deep traumas that kind of take our power away, make us see ourselves differently, make us see ourselves as not worthy. It's like they shift the perspective, is shifting the consciousness. And so to reset is to come back to the deep self before this happened. This is very much returning to the unwounded self. It's like returning to the unwounded child self. Being like giving ourselves a chance to stand back enough to reset and be like, okay, dropping a pebble in a pond causes all of these ripples to go out. And we want to drop that pebble, literally pebbles, literally crystals, into the pond at such a deep level that all these ripples go out. And the whole system can be like, let's kind of stand back and see what cascade we're on right now. And it can reset that cascade. So stand back, just becoming conscious of things can reset things. So it's a great time to do this if you feel like you have had some event that kind of set you off on a path that you feel like was a life-changing change. It was almost like you diverged from the path that you were on, physically or spiritually, and to bring this reset to that. And I know this is deep. I know this is like, should I even be talking about this in a podcast? It is deep. It is big. There is so much more that I could say about this in coding and working with stones to create these different encodements. And I want you to just let this wash over you. And you don't have to, this is the mystery. Okay. So you don't have to be like, well, this is the new encodement that I want to put in. No, it's like, let's just reset. It's like Control Alt Delete, reset. Imagine just like jumping into cold water in a lake and just like letting go. And then you come up and you see what is reset. You let the mystery do the reset. You let the divine do the reset. So it's like, yes, jumping into water for this full reset, jumping into this whole new, like baptism. It's like this whole new reset. So I keep saying the same things, but I'm sorry, I'm really trying to explain it. So here's how we're going to do this reset. And I just wanted to remind you to like, let the mind kind of be at rest, because this is something that the mystery brings to you. It's already kind of bringing it to you right now just by hearing this. So the way that you are going to, the formula that can bring about this reset in stone medicine is aquamarine, emerald, morganite, and diamond. Aquamarine, emerald, morganite, diamond. So morganite is the pink beryl. I'm showing a picture of it here, and I'll put pictures in the blog. Morganite is the pink beryl, and aquamarine is the blue beryl. Showing pictures here, and I'll put them in the blog. And then also emerald is the green beryl, and diamond is going to be like the period on the sentence or the full circle of the reset. It's kind of like the reset itself. It's almost the morganite, aquamarine, and emerald are like weaving themselves together in this trinity braid through all of the DNA, right? All of the possible encodements, and sorting all of that out. And then the diamond is like the period on the end of the sentence that says we're bringing this full circle. And so it is. The diamond is like the and so it is. And what we have created is on a deep and permanent level. This isn't something that we're going to do this reset and 2 minutes later you're back in the old programs. It's like, no, we're doing this reset and so it is. And the diamond carries it forward in permanence. Everything down at the level of the DNA has a tendency to want to kind of become permanent, right? That's why these diseases are like chronic diseases often that are related to the DNA, because things like here want to become permanent. They want to become very fixed. So we need stones, which are very dense and permanent, to be able to come in and kind of shift what feels permanent. Stones are the medicine for that. They're the medicine for the DNA. So the emerald, aquamarine, and beryl together are the formula that creates almost like the reading of all the books, like the reading of the entire library that's going on. It's like they're the ones reading, they're doing this inventory of everything. And they're resetting the inventory. It's like they're sorting it. They're sorting all the codes in the DNA. And they do this big reset, because there's 3 of them. Emerald, aquamarine, and morganite. It's like usually this powerful of stones don't all come together and work together. It's kind of like 3 queens or 3 kings all coming together. That usually doesn't happen. Usually the queen will work with their assistants. But when 3 queens or 3 kings like this come together, it's like a powerful moment. It's like some decree over the entire world, not just the land. And when these 3 stones come together and move down, because they are beryllium stones. So emerald, aquamarine, and morganite are all beryllium stones. And that's why they're called the beryls, because they have beryllium in them. And beryllium is number 4 on the periodic table. And it is a very, very light metal. It has a lot of space in it. It has a lot of access to the void. It's almost like a very open geometry with a space for a lot of possibility. That beryl goes down into the DNA. It's very activating for the DNA. It's also very activating in general. It's initiatory. It's like setting off a new cascade of events, setting something off. That's very beryl. And that's why these stones come together in this formula. It's 3 beryllium stones, all powerful stones that go to the level of the DNA. And then the diamond itself, the hardest stone out there to make this permanent. So what you'll find with this formula is that there's a feeling of sovereignty that returns. And, the sovereignty is a feeling of getting back in the driver's seat. It's like, oh, I can control this again. I'm back in the driver's seat. Like I can do this the way I see it. I can create a vision and follow that. I have power again, sovereignty. When you really feel that feeling, it's like the best feeling in the world. Like, oh, I'm back in the driver's seat. I can do this. You feel like you have choice again. You have agency. It's like you feel like a creator again, right? And a lot of the things that get us, at the level of the DNA and set off these different cascades are things that take our power. And, whether it's a tick-borne disease or something that hits us up from the outside as a trauma, or just something someone says that goes so deep that it encodes us in a different way. They're usually things that like take our power. They make us forget that we have the ability to create our lives. They make us forget the sovereignty, like the God realization, the truth of who we are. And that God realization piece, the piece of that we are the creators of our lives, we're the sovereign creators of our lives, is very much concerned with the crown chakra. This is a place where like that can really build up that understanding. And this formula tends to weave its way up the entire spine, move into the brain, this place of sovereignty as well, because it's coherent thought, creating like coherent signals in the world, a coherent vision for our life. And then up into the crown chakras. I felt so much as I worked with this formula to be all involved in the spine. And then that diamond is almost like a crown of sovereignty on the head. So we don't have to really fully understand this with our minds. I want you to allow, this is something from the mystery. It's not for me. It's like my words are saying this, but it's the mystery itself that says, you can put aquamarine, morganite, emerald together with diamond to create a full reset genetically. And that's the mystery. It's an offering, it's so beyond what we can really understand. So when we try to pin it down, like what is A plus B equals C? How many drops do I do? Exactly how I do this? Like what is right and wrong? You can do it that way. But another way to do it is like to meet the mystery with mystery, to meet the mystery, like, this is a field of resonances coming to me. There is the sounded, like the sounding and the unsounded, in the words of my divination mentor. It's a field of resonances that contains the sounding and the unsounded. And instead of meeting it like, let me get you in a container, which the mind wants to do, it wants black and white, meet it with your own field of resonance. Meet it with your field, step into it and let it step into you. This might do a cellular reset and you just hearing it. These stones work without actually being physically present. You can also invoke it or summon it into your life just by getting out your aquamarine, emerald, and morganite and a diamond. And yes, that diamond can be inside jewelry. Most people only have a diamond inside jewelry. And if you need to clear and recharge that diamond, you can look at episode 9. As a way to clear and charge that diamond before you bring it into this work. And because I had a little plan for you, I wanted to tell you the full genetic reset. So I did episode 9 so that you would, because I know everybody would be asking, well, how do I use my diamond? So make sure you reset your diamond and then, even just bring these stones together into a little grid, bring them next to your bed, bring them in your office where you're working, sleep with them at night. It's really allowing your field to be penetrated by their field and giving up control, giving up that, like, if I just know how to do this right, this will happen for me. It's actually not like that. It's an allowing. It's just more than the mind can understand. It's the alchemy of infinity. This is coming from the field of all possibility to bring you all the way back to be able to look at the destiny that you will actualize and the codes that you came in with, and say, I want to go back to the time, quote unquote, before this happened and contact the unwounded self or the quote unquote pre-impacted self and reside in that for a moment. Just reside in that for a moment. Just become conscious of that for a moment, like the pre-trauma, the pre-abuse, like the unwounded whole self. Once we reside in that a little bit, the field itself resets. You don't have to do the reset. The field itself resets. So emerald, aquamarine, and morganite together, the 3 become the 10,000 things in this formula. 3 becomes the field of all possibility. And then the diamond will do the full turnover at the end, the full completion, the full closure, the full reset that then you go permanent with. The one of the numbers of days to do this would be 7 days, or things in 7-day increments, like the number 49. 7 is the number of destiny, so it really works well with this. Remember too that anything at this level can happen in an instant. It's outside of time, and it's symmetrical. It's like the pond dropping in the water with ripples going out instead of a linear time. So it can happen instantaneously, even hearing about this. And another thing to think about is if you do make an elixir with this formula, you can take it before bed. It's a good time to take it as before bed. So you're like kind of resetting in this like deep process that you go into with your soul when you're asleep. The soul kind of can travel while you're asleep and leave the body and encounter all of these things. So it's kind of a good time to be taking something that's about stepping back and seeing the whole picture all over again and resetting. But remember, you're not doing the reset. You just step into this field of resonances that contain the sounding and the unsounded and let the mystery kind of come to you. So I hope that you can take that with you and use. I mean, the uses for this are profound. It's the shifts that this can create are absolutely transformational. You can somebody can be going like, oh, I feel like I'm starting to go on a bad road from this exposure, this impact, or this trauma. You can reset that, and there's nothing more important than sovereignty. There's nothing more important than being like, okay, I'm back in the driver's seat. There's nothing more important than like taking control again, healthy control, heart-based control. It's something that can save lives. So in the physical and in the spiritual. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming to today's episode. And if I created more questions than answers, that's okay, because we're dealing with the mystery. So just let this be and see how the mystery comes to you as you have listened to this episode and see how this unfolds for you. Okay. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked today's episode, please like or subscribe. Oh, and leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you'd like to learn more about. To take the perfect stone medicine or crystal healing training for you, or to visit me at our super special crystal shop, go to upperclarity.com.